Alright, we're effing live. So, um, it's late tonight. Just kind of bored, didn't have anything to do. So I figured I'd make a video about, something my mom was watching on the news. Today I walked through the living room to go get me a drink. And, she goes, they arrested a bunch of the Boogaloo people. I was like, the Boogaloo people? I was like, oh, that's a myth. But no, really. So, what is Boogaloo? Who are the Boogaloo Boys, and what does their movement stand for, and everything? So, I went to Wikipedia, and it's a fresh article. I mean, this Boogaloo movement has only been around since about late 2018, when some memes started circulating. And the memes, uh, the Boogaloo Boys emblem is a kek, the frog, holding a gun or a bazooka, and with bullets in the background or guns in the background. It's a really interesting looking emblem. I mean, and they're using chaos magic with kek involved in it. So, all right. So here I'll read you out of the Wikipedia what Wikipedia has to say about the Boogaloo movement. And Boogaloo, spelled Boogalloo. The Boogaloo movement, members of which are often referred to as Boogaloo Boys or Boogaloo Boys, is a loosely organized American far-right extremist movement. Members generally identify as libertarian citizen militia and say they are preparing for a coming Second American Civil War, which they call the Boogaloo. Widespread use of the term dates from late 2019, and members use the term, including variations, so as to avoid social media crackdowns. I was wrong. It's actually from late 2019, not 2018. Sorry. To refer to violent uprisings against the federal government or left-wing political opponents, often anticipated to follow government confiscation of firearms. So, it's a pro-Second Amendment movement, basically. The movement consists of pro-gun, anti-government groups. The specific ideology of each group varies, and views on some topics, such as race, differ widely. Some are white supremacist or neo-Nazi groups who specifically believe the impending unrest will be a race war. Others condemn racism. The Boogaloo movement primarily organizes online, particularly on Facebook, and members have appeared at in-person events, including the 2020 United States anti-lockdown protests and the May 2020 George Floyd protests. They are often identified by their attire of Hawaiian shirts, and military fatigues, and are heavily armed. In May 2020, Facebook acted to limit the movement's activities and visibility across the social media platforms. So they're being censored as we speak. As we see so many people lost monetization yesterday. I mean, across the board on YouTube, uh, there was hundreds of people that lost monetization, and like I got a strike last week for insinuating that the whole George Floyd thing was I'm not even going to say it because I might get another strike, but um, basically, the whole thing's been used as a psyop to incite unrest and division within the American people. So I'll get back to it. The term Boogaloo is a reference to the 1984 cult film Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. and a sequel that was largely believed to be a near exact copy of the original film following the film, adding Electric Boogaloo to a phrase becoming a joke reference to any unwanted or oh shit, I stapled over that. I'll have to. Why did I do that? Now I couldn't read it. Any unwanted or archetypal sequel. The Boogaloo movement adopted their name from the belief there would be a second Civil War, that is, Civil War II Electric Boogaloo. And members of the Boogaloo movement also use other similar sounding derivations of the word, including Boog, Boog Big Igloo, and Big Lao, and have created logos and other imagery incorporating igloo, snow huts, and Hawaiian prints. The names and the broader imagery are used by members of the Boogaloo movement to avoid crackdowns and automated content flags imposed by social media sites to limit or ban Boogaloo-related content. Members attend protests heavily armed and wearing tactical gear and sometimes identify themselves by wearing Hawaiian shirts along with military fatigues. They have also used other imagery popular among the far right, such as the Pepe the Frog meme, which is, as you all know, in Chaos Magic is Kek, the Egyptian god Kek. So, beliefs and structure. Groups in the Boogaloo movement do not have a strong unifying ideology. The groups are generally described as far-right or alt-right, although some groups have also been described as libertarian or anarchist. Members of Boogaloo groups typically believe in accelerationism and support any action that will speed impending civil war and eventually the collapse of society. According to which I don't believe, I believe they're mainly a Second Amendment rights group that wants to keep people from losing their guns. I don't believe all this propaganda. But anyway, according to The Economist, to this end, Boogaloo group members have supported the spreading of disinformation and conspiracy theories, attacks on infrastructure such as that on New York's 311 line, and lone wolf terrorism. J.J. McNabb, a George Washington University fellow researching anti-government extremist groups, notes that opinions on racism and attitudes towards law enforcement are among the views that differ the most between groups in the movement. Some groups are also white supremacist or neo-Nazi and specifically believe that the unrest will be a race war, but there are others that condemn racism. Attempts by some elements of the Boogaloo movement to support anti-racist groups such as Black Lives Matter have been met with wariness and skepticism. So, some members of the movement claim the group and its ideology are nothing more than online jokes. However, law enforcement and researchers maintain that people connected to the groups have been implicated in plans to commit real-world violence. The Tech Transparency Project has observed that while public posts on Boogaloo Facebook pages tend to be satirical, members of private Boogaloo groups exchange detailed information and tactics on how to organize and execute a revolt against American authorities. Some of the private groups ban the sharing of memes to keep conversation focused on serious topics. The NCRI has also commented on the mix of serious and joking content writing. This ambiguity is a key feature of the problem, like a virus hiding from the immune system. The use of comical meme language permits the network to organize violence secretly behind a mirage of inside jokes and plausible deniability. Well, according to the nonprofit network Contagion Research Institute, NCRI, Groups belonging to the Boogaloo movement organize on mainstream online platforms including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit, as well as on more obscure platforms such as 4chan. Bellingcat identifies Facebook as a particularly important platform for the movement and that the movement numbers in the tens of thousands. The NCRI researchers also estimate the movement to have tens of thousands of members. Members of the movement can appear unexpectedly at events and protests initiated by others with apparently different affiliations, an aspect that Harvard social scientist Joan Donovan called stream sniping. So here we have another word, another phrase, stream sniping, a term from the world of internet gaming which refers to interrupting another's live stream in order to bring attention to oneself and to provoke authorities to respond. Stream sniping, huh? I've never had that happen to me. Of course, I never get very many viewers on my live streams. You know, there's so many people that live stream video games these days. So, sorry, I had tobacco in my mouth. So it goes on about extremism and the history on it, and it only goes so far back into 2019. So it's a new movement. It goes on about George Floyd. I'll link the Wikipedia article so you guys can read it. But anyway, Boogaloo originally is a Latin dance form, and then the African Americans adopted it and have their own Boogaloo dance form, and that movie Electric Boogaloo 1984 starred Ice-T, which is one of my favorite rappers and actors, Ice-T. And Ice-T is pretty much anti-government and anti-police. You know, if you've ever listened to his music, even though he was on the programs that had the police shows that were in the late 90s and early 2000s. A lot of police shows Ice-T was in on TV as acting as a police officer, no doubt. So he later in life showed his support for the police, but I have yet to hear from Ice-T on this matter. I don't think he's dead. And, you know, it would be good to actually hear from him. It'd be interesting to hear from Ice-T what he thought about the George Floyd protests and BLM and Antifa and the Boogaloo boys and all this mess, you know. But, you guys caught me in the middle of my late night cigarette coffee time. Actually, I'm drinking tea right now. Already had 2 cups of coffee. Yeah, that Vyvanse I'm taking kind of doesn't let me sleep very much, but I did get some good sleep tonight in between 7 and 11 o'clock. And then I've been up since then, just watching YouTube and you know, checking the news and stuff. Just more protest and riot news. Some interesting alien disclosure stuff and some interesting Mandela effect things popping up. But other than that, folks, you know, that's where the Boogaloo movement started. Is a pro-gun, pro Second Amendment movement, and I wouldn't see it as any much more than that, or worry too much about it. Uh, these people pretty much keep to themselves, and they might show up at rallies, but I don't think they're instigating. I don't think they're instigating violence at any rate. Not while they're brandishing firearms, you know, especially with police and National Guard presence around. But there has been a few members arrested. You know, there are always going to be violent elements to any group, and like Wikipedia says, there are racist elements to them. There are anti-black elements to it, anti-colored elements to it, and then there are pro-rights members. So, you know, I'm going to get on Facebook and do a little digging, see how many Boogaloo groups there are, and maybe even join some to get on the inside, see what's really going on with that. Maybe do another report if I find any information pertinent, you know. But they've probably done all their operations and communications already by now, and have pretty much shut everything down, and are in action, you know, doing what they do. But as far as them inciting a riot, I mean, what I've seen on the riots is a bunch of young black men looting and robbing and stuff, and beating people up. I don't see armed groups of white guys looting stores. You know, that's just not happening. So for the news to say that they're instigating this is hypocrisy and downright lies, you know, in the most part. Now, I imagine the guys that are arrested probably did do a little bit of inciting and stuff. Like I said, there's bad elements to every group, but they'll be weeded out, and this movement will carry on, I believe, and be an interesting Second Amendment rights movement if y'all are interested in anything like that. You know, I'm not real big on firearms, but I do believe you should have a firearm. I installed carpet for 24 some odd years, and I was in people's houses around here in the Ozarks. About from here to Tulsa to Joplin to Murfreesboro to Fort Smith and beyond, and way down south out in the sticks. And I can tell you this, that people around here are heavily armed. We are heavily armed, especially the right-wing white people are heavily armed. I mean, they own on average of 3 to 6 guns apiece, and 2 of them would be semi-automatic rifles, and at least 1 shotgun and a handgun, or multiple handguns and a shotgun and a rifle. Not necessarily semi-automatic, but most people own a handgun, a shotgun, and a rifle in these parts that have guns. I know my brother has a lot of guns, you know, and I'm not going to say whether I'm armed or not, but you know, I would just say this, that I wouldn't advise anyone trying to break into my house, because I'm up late at night and all the time, my son stays up late at night. We don't get to sleep until the sun comes up usually. We sleep during the morning. Especially here in the past couple years with everything going on. Um, we've had a couple people try and get into the house before. They were drunk, but nonetheless they tried to get in. And it really disturbed my son. He was young when it happened, and it really put an impression on him that he needed to uh, have home self-defense and defend himself properly. So I'm all about home self-defense, and because the police won't get there fast enough to do anything if somebody's breaking into your house, you have to defend yourself quick. And just, if you wound somebody or kill somebody on your property, make sure you drag them into your house, or make sure they're in your house, because if they're not and they're just sitting out on your property, you can get in deep trouble. They have to be in your house, and so don't shoot anybody on your front yard. But if they come into your house, you have every right to blow them away, especially if they're coming at you with a weapon or have a gun themselves. So anyway, guys, that's what the Boogaloo movement is, and they are using chaos magic. They have Keck as their mascot, and so that makes them a powerful meme force to begin with. They're using Star Wars memes and Simpsons memes, and all sorts of memes. I found some pretty interesting ones, But I'll leave it at that, and that'll wrap up my Boogaloo report for this evening. If any of you have questions or comments, leave them below. I'll leave the link to the Wikipedia article down there, and I'll try and find a good meme cover photo that's not too offensive or anything like that. Um, so I won't use the Boogaloo Boy emblem, because you can find that on Bing Images if you wanted to search Boogaloo, and or Boogaloo memes. You can find the memes on Bing. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, go watch Electric uh, uh, Electric Boogaloo. It's a it's a pretty good movie with Ice-T in it. I seen it a long time ago when I was a kid. But you guys have an excellent evening. And this is Mr. Mission Control. Peace out, MFers.